You must have seen the numbers also in magazines, articles also. Number of unicorns produced by BITS Pilani itself is quite astonishing.
I think CEL is the closest counterpart to what our campus has in terms of an ECEL, right? So most colleges have some entrepreneurship cells. We have the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. So it's kind of the same.
And where we had teams of freshers create business ideas on existing problem statement that we would give. And the problem statement ranges from sustainability, from PropTech, from SaaS to AI.
Or you guys also build startups, or you guys help the startups to get the right investment. There is one line, like when we are building stuff, 5% is building and 95% is marketing. So how much is it true, and what do you think? Like, should builders also go to the market, sell products? Like, selling is necessary. When the people are coming to the college, what they could expect from the entrepreneurship culture of the college? Someone builds a project, can they also pitch to PIDES and CL from BITS only? And can CL and PIDES help them to grow there, to give them a right direction?
DeepTech is in upcoming sector to focus on. So as a founder of Big Basket, a firm like Big Basket, a unicorn like Big Basket, he can reply to you in 30 minutes. Think about it. You just have to update.
Hey, this is Nadmi from BITS Pilani, a founder, developer, and a creator. I love to code and build things. Recently, I was selected for GSOC 2. You can know more about me from LinkedIn. I've started a podcast series called BITS Gem, a show featuring BITS Pilani folks doing cool stuff in tech, finance, consulting, robotics, academics, and beyond. Hope you will enjoy the show.
So we have the business people in the room, Namish and Kavan. So can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hello, I'm Namish. I'm a second year electronics and instrumentation student here at BITS.
I'm Kavan, pursuing mechanical engineering. I'm part of BITS Pilani, the startup incubator of BITS Pilani.
So you both are in sophomore mode, right? Second year.
Second year.
So why did you join BITS? Like, what was the motive behind it?
Main personal motive was the extensive entrepreneurship culture at BITS Pilani.
Genuine
That-
grades, tier 1 college or startup culture?
Yeah, so it was sort of like कि IIT नहीं मिला, IIT से similar क्या है?
Okay.
And IIT जैसा entrepreneurship culture के इधर है. It's BITS Pilani.
Okay.
You must have seen the numbers also in magazines, articles also. Number of unicorns produced by BITS Pilani itself is quite astonishing.
Yeah, I'd say for me, the reason was pretty similar. I think factors like the fact that we have 0% attendance, that was in itself a really, really big thing for me. Apart from obviously me not getting the desired branch in an IIT of my choice, I did have access to going to Triple IT Hyderabad, but the place has 85% mandatory attendance, and like having a low attendance criteria was a must for me.
So both of you were clear from the start, like entrepreneurship करनी है, like या फिर tech culture explore करना, startup culture explore करना है.
I think in some capacity, like personally, I've never wanted to be a startup founder as such, but I think the industry in itself, which includes like the VC ecosystem that you have, plus different ways you can get associated with the ecosystem even if you're not a founder itself. I think the ecosystem is growing so fast that there's multiple ways you can latch onto it, so I wanted to be associated with it in some capacity.
Also, like before coming to college, we don't know much about CL, PIDES. So what were your expectations and how did it turn out when you got to know about CL, PIDES? How did you apply, starting from Kavan?
PIDES was relatively new when I applied for it. It was it had just been founded a year back. And so, PIDES student team is in student body under the startup incubator, PIDES. And we basically assist the faculty management under PIDES and also conduct and organize events all across India to foster entrepreneurial culture.
Okay,
in
so
India.
PIDES is completely student run or the
No, so PIDES is it's in startup incubator run by the admin. And under that, we have a PIDES student team, a dedicated student body, which assists the management and also organizes events in BITS Pilani and across India. So, for example, last year we had Ignite. So it was a startup pitching competition we held at Mumbai, and we had about 1,000 registrations across India. And it was basically a startup pitching competition for top 15 startups, and it had some VC firms, 40 plus VC firms, angel investors.
And what's the scene of CL?
So I think for me,
Full form also.
yeah, so like CL stands for Center for Entrepreneurship.
Many people
Entrepreneurial
say it
Leadership.
as CEL. So, what is the right pronunciation? CL or CEL?
CEL.
We like to call it CEL.
Okay.
But sure, call it whatever you want to.
Okay.
Anyways, I think CEL is the closest counterpart to what our campus has in terms of an E-cell, right? So most colleges have some entrepreneurship cells. We have the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. So it's kind of the same. However, I think in terms of initiatives, our flagship initiative, which is Conquest, is something that we really do more directly into the startup ecosystem than on the campus. We do have a bunch of campus initiatives. We have E-Week, which is the entrepreneurship week on campus, where there's a week of fun events for people to kind of bring out the entrepreneur within themselves without having any startup sector specific knowledge. There's also things like Desert Hack, where we encourage people to build stuff that they have always wanted to but never have had the access to resources for. But I think most of our bandwidth goes into this startup accelerator thing called Conquest, where we take a lot of early stage startups, we select them, they apply for being a part of Conquest, and we take them through a 6 or like roughly 7 week long journey.
So like Conquest, I guess, happens in June, July, August period.
Yeah,
So the preparation is year long. Like you are busy throughout the or there other stuffs also.
So the preparation for Conquest goes parallel with our other initiatives. So I think the preparation in terms of reaching out to the right stakeholders, in terms of figuring out what the structure of the accelerator itself looks like, considering it's 7 week long, all of that starts quite a few months before the actual program does. So yeah, it runs parallel with our other initiatives, which I mentioned.
When did you got recruited to BITS?
I got recruited in last year, yeah.
Okay.
Second sem actually.
Okay. In 1-2.
Yeah.
And you?
I don't remember the exact month,
No,
but it
like
was
the
the
same-
first semester
Yes,
of
first
my
semester.
first year. Yeah.
So like CEL's recruitment was like quite famous.
Yeah.
They put people on hold for months,
Yeah,
So-
as someone who has taken this year's recruitments, trust me, we can't help things. Like there's simply so many people applying, and you have to really make sure that you get in good people, right? So
what is the judging criteria? Like why does it extend so much, like for months?
I think the main reason it extends so long is that for every single interview that you take, each interview lasts for roughly a couple of hours, and there's a couple of rounds of interviews at least. And for each of those, you require at least 3 or 4 people from CEL taking that interview. So you have to align the timelines of the person who applied as well as 3 people in CEL and give a couple of hours to each of those. So I
And
think
what
that's-
about BITS? What's the recruitment process?
So it was different for our sim when we are recruited. And for juniors this year, we had done something called BITS Pilani. So it was an initiative by BITS, and where we had teams of freshers create business ideas on existing problem statement that we would give. And there were problem statement ranging from sustainability, from prop tech, from SaaS to AI, and there were multiple problem statements, and they had to fixate on one problem statement and develop an idea, solution, create a deck out of it, and they had to pitch to us a panel of members of BITS.
So they have to build an actual MVP
Yeah.
prototype
Yeah.
with the pitch deck.
Not prototype, but
Okay.
this is basically create a business model.
But business model.
Yeah,
Okay.
they can't create a prototype in very short time span.
How much is the recruitment time for?
So it 1.5 months, 1.5 months it took us.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we had PIs based on it and shortlisted the students based on it.
So you guys have like quite a lot of experience, like almost 2 years now with BITS and CL. So what is the major work of yours, like when you're recruited after recruitment? And as in the first year, and now when you are moving to in the second year, and now when you're moving to the third year.
So for CEL, when you're in your first year, so recruitment happens in both the semesters, right? If you get recruited in the first semester itself, then the first thing that you work on is E-Week, which I mentioned before, the Entrepreneurship Week. That is an initiative that single-handedly, right from ideation to execution, is something that the first year rights of CEL do alone. If you get recruited in the second semester though, we directly take you in working on Conquest, which is the flagship startup accelerator thing we do. When it comes to our second year, then you choose the initiative you're a part of. So apart from eWeek and Conquest, we have a bunch of initiatives, right? We have Desert Hack, we have this thing called Rural Entrepreneurship Development. So you choose one of the non-conquest events you want to be a part in. You also help juniors with eWeek in terms of guiding them in case they need your help. Plus, of course, when your second year starts, apart from working on the recruitments in itself is a pretty hectic thing for us. A large part of our first semester and second year goes just into recruitments, and apart from that, we also start some amount of ideation on what Conquest is going to look like.
And what about BITS?
So for us, when we are recruited, we are exposed to a lot of projects, and we have a liberty to choose one of them. So our recruitments are generally done in the second semester, in even sems, not in odd sems.
Okay.
We just do recruitments in one sem.
Okay.
And once the juniors are recruited, once we are recruited, we are exposed to multiple projects, and we had to choose which one we wanted to do. So we had Inspire, which is a panel discussion to be conducted during Apogee, which happens every year. And we also had something called CEL Pilani this year, which was we let teams of students take over the local businesses of Pilani and help scale them, solve their problems, and increase their revenue profits. And those were the two projects initially that the juniors were exposed to. They had liberty to choose them. And second year was more of leading the projects. So we had Soft Pilani, Inspire. So second year lead those projects, and the third year was the president, the highest position of BITS. They delegate and lead the projects overall.
Okay.
So that's the overall structure hierarchy of BITS.
And for the juniors, like when they are applying, there are different verticals. Like in DBM, there's
different verticals. There are different projects they can apply to.
What are the different like you judge on technical skills also? Or?
Yeah. So while recruitment, we also judge some people if they have technical skills, if they have soft skills, if they have design skills, and we recruit them according to that. So it's a mixed bag of people.
And what about CL same?
So for the hard skills itself, we do have a section in our recruitments for people with hard skills, but that's never the primary metric. We just bet on the fact that if you're interested in that kind of work, in working in the initiatives we work on, then you'll probably also be willing to learn the hard skills required for those. So I think we take a slightly different approach to that.
Okay, and one more question, like CL and PIDES are more like to help the startups, or you guys also build startups, or you guys help the startups to get the right investment?
So we are closely associated with startups, help them in some process. We don't ourselves build any startups, because it's an organization. An organization just can't build a startup by itself. And with PIDES, our basic motto is, to assist and build a bridge between the existing PIDES startup incubator and the students of BITS Pilani, and also foster entrepreneurial culture across India and at BITS Pilani and all across the campuses of BITS Pilani. So yeah.
And what about CL?
So yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing. I think there's two parts to this answer, right? First of all, you work on the projects inside of the club till when you are in third year mostly. So a lot of us, after having been associated with the ecosystem for 3 years, know enough about it to go on and build successful startups themselves. So a lot of times we have alumni who built their own startups not as a part of the club, but right after the club's work. So mostly at the end of their third years or fourth year. So in fact, we also have a couple of people with startups right in our third year as well. So people do build, just not as a part of the club itself.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the second part of this is that a lot of what it takes to be a founder is also common with what it takes to work in these clubs, right? Because a lot of things you are doing are parallel in the sense that you are still building events for different stakeholders. Just like as a founder, you are building something for the consumer. So I think the core idea of you building something and catering to different stakeholders and reaching different people to give you feedback as to how you can improve it, that kind of remains the same.
So like it gives a very great platform to network with investors, to with the startup founders, and to get that thinking process, like how they are thinking.
Not only
which start-
connection, it also exposes you to a philosophy or first principle thinking.
yeah, like the
Right,
thinking
you,
process.
Yeah, you closely associate with founders, and you basically develop a sense of thinking, what you can do to help them, and yeah, so that helps a lot, in building a startup, a founder mindset, which helps across the years as you progress in future if you want to build a startup. So PIDE CL are a great place to be.
There is one line like when we are building stuff, 5% is building and 95% is marketing. So how much is it true, and what do you think? Like, should builders also go to the market, sell products? Like selling is necessary.
So it depends on the type of startup you're building. So if you say for a deep tech startup, most of your time will go into building stuff, you know. And if you say for D2C brands, most of your time will go towards marketing. So it depends on the startup type of startup you're building. And yeah.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. One thing is that if you are building into deep tech or something where you want what you are building at its core to differentiate you, then you have to spend a lot of time into the building in itself. However, I do think that selling in itself is something that you have to do regardless, because a lot of times, even as a deep tech founder, you lack funds, right? So you have to sell your vision to investors, for example. So while I wouldn't say 95% of the work is marketing, I would say selling to someone at some point is a huge part of the work. In fact, you have to keep selling your vision to potentially your like co-founders, at some stage your employees, investors, customers. So there's a lot of selling involved for sure.
And it is also said like you should sell the idea first and then build the stuff. So how much is it true? Like just sell the idea, like I want to build this. Are you ready for it? Do you want it? And when the people say yes, I'm ready, then you can put more energy on building rather than building and then presenting it to the market.
Yeah, you have to first bring everyone on board to an idea. Because only then people would work effectively. That's the major point.
Not just the people who will work in the team.
Yeah.
I'm saying about to the consumer also. The consumer should be well versed with the idea.
Consumer side, you'll also have to build a finished product before selling.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not two ways. So if you first, at the initial stages, you have to bring your team on board to the idea, to the vision, where you want to set it. And after the product has been built, a basic prototype, you can then approach the market, get validation, improvise, and then get consumers on board to the idea.
And what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so of course, in terms of getting your team on board, be it your employees, your co-founders, whatever, of course, like you need to sell them the vision first. However, I think in terms of selling to the consumer, you do need some amount of market validation in the beginning. That's true, because you need to know if the problem that you're solving for is actually a problem that people have. But I think once the basic problem validation stage passes on, you have to build something first before obsessing too much over what people think. The reason for that is that, and I think this is especially true for the Indian market, a lot of experts in the ecosystem say this, that people are very, very enthusiastic when it comes to things like surveys. So if you roll out a Google form saying if you'd be interested in something, then a lot of people will reply in the affirmative saying, yes, please build this. But when you actually go out and try selling this, you'll find that most people do not want to give you either the amount of time you need, like they have to give as customers, or the amount of money you're asking them. So you have to build it and put it out in the market to see how people respond.
When the people are coming to the college, what they could expect from the entrepreneurship culture of the college.
So I think one part of it is, of course, joining the entrepreneurship clubs. So you could join the PIDE student team, you could join CEL, but obviously that's less than 50 people in a batch of over 1,000 people, right? So I do not think that's the major way for you to experience entrepreneurship. I think there's two parts to this. Number one is you have a lot of great alumni, right? So there's a lot of cool seniors that you have who are building stuff, as well as people who have passed out and like they have built something really crazy. You could try reaching out to them, ask about their journeys. One thing I've realized is that the BITS alumni network is insanely supportive of you. Whenever you reach out to them, they are very enthusiastic in replying, helping out. The second part of this is the initiatives that clubs like CEL and PIDES do on campus for everyone. So, for example, at CEL, as I said previously, we organize this thing called Desert Hack, where everyone, regardless of what year they are in, what branch they are in, or if they are in the club, tries their hands at building something that they previously couldn't build. Because a lot of times, let's say you want to build an app that does something, you don't have access to the right kind of paid software, the right kind of credits that you need, that sort of thing. So we make these things available to them. So I think a large part of it has to be finding the right people, which means your seniors, your alumni, and taking inspiration from what they did. Second, actively participating in every on campus initiative that different people take up.
So it involves two ways. So firstly, you have to get exposure to a lot of things when you just enter a very vast campus, very vast world, full of various stuff you could build on. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of sectors you could build on. So first thing is get exposure, get a view of hindsight view of everything. Next part could be learning the basic skills needed to develop prototype. So suppose if you want to build an startup in the AI sector, there are a lot of no-code platforms, a lot of AI tools that you could use. You could get a hang of them, and you'll start building small projects. The small projects are something that I've seen in a lot of startup founders based out of BITS Pilani and also IITs. So they start off with a small project, gain validation, and if they feel if the product is right to the market for the market and consumers are able to see the vision, the idea, they scale that idea to a large audience. So for example,
How is that like scaling part happens? Like in
so,
most
so
cases,
I'll give you
people
an example.
people
There's
build
a
stuff,
start.
but
There's a startup called BITS Speed. Founded by Vinayak Agarwal. So he is in recent bits in pass out, and it has about $200 million of revenue. And so it initially started with by helping the restaurants that cannot, you know, helping them connect with the customers
bits.
online via WhatsApp. So if you send a WhatsApp message to the restaurant, the the API that they made automatically detects the order and sends the order to the restaurant owner, and they process the order and they dispatch it. And he helped the founder scale this idea to a large audience. We created a marketplace, a WhatsApp marketplace, wherein businesses can come and build a miniature, e-commerce
And like
platform.
apart from building, I guess execution and scaling is more important because at some point people can clone it. Like as you said, they made a simple API. Anyone could do that. Then what differentiated that? Like how
You
did they
have to
scale and
start
how
at
did they
some point.
get that audience?
You have to start at some point, gain validation, and try to find out what unique you can do to the existing market. So you have to
But how
start
to reach to
somewhere.
the market?
As I said, you first build a small project,
Huh.
and connect with alumni, connect with your fellow mates. How
Okay.
do you think about the idea, and gain validation? What all the things you can change in it,
Okay.
and that's how initial market validation starts.
And if someone builds a project, can they also pitch to PIDES and CL from bits only? And can CL and PIDES help them to grow there, to give them a right direction?
So I think as a club, CEL is not an incubator, so
Okay.
BITES would probably be better suited for that.
Okay.
However, once they do gain a certain amount of scale, they can apply for Conquest, and if they do get selected as a part of the cohort, then we can help them immensely.
So how to get into the incubation?
So we have a lot of incubation schemes under BITES. So if you are at an ideation stage, you just have an idea, you can apply for the Ideate Create Cohort program. in which we basically connect you with a mentor in the industry, and then it's a 10-week long program. So there are multiple mentorship sessions, and at the end of the session, you have to pitch the final idea, the business model, to the faculty of BITS, the admin of BITS, and based on that, they can give you funding or further guidance on what to do. And there are also other schemes like Nidhi Prayas. So we align with a lot of government initiatives also, and we can give you funds based on it.
What are the coming trends according to you?
Upcoming trends in startup ecosystem, especially when you view it in India, there's a very future trend of deep tech in India. You must have seen there are a lot of government organizations coming up like T Hub to actually help startup founders make a prototype, build a prototype out of it, and gain funding. So deep tech is in upcoming sector to focus on.
Can you brief DeepTech? Like, what is it?
Deep tech is where your innovation is not in terms of implementing a technology, but in terms of creating it. Take the best example of this is the recent AI boom, right? A lot of companies have made a lot of money by building these chat GPT wrappers, which are essentially you just use the chat GPT API and you repurpose it for one specific application and you make money in the process. That's not deep tech, even though you're building an AI. It would be deep tech if you are building foundational models.
So like Perplexity isn't deep tech, it's just a wrapper. And models like DeepSeek would go into the deep tech category.
Perplexity still probably did some innovation at the model level, right? If you are innovating in AI at the model level itself, then you are working in deep tech. If I take AI as an example, if you talk about, let's say, semiconductors again, deep tech is very research heavy. So if you spend a lot of time researching about different semiconductor technologies, for example, photonics is coming up as a new sector as opposed to just electronics, where you control the flow of current based on light instead of the traditional way it's done through semiconductors. You can look that up. So deep tech is where you are innovating in terms of research, you are building new technology, you are not innovating in terms of implementing something that already exists for a niche application. So if you look at most of India's big startups, for example, take Swiggy, Zomato, take Baiju's in the past, even though it's fallen, but almost none of them are deep tech startups, right? They didn't create anything. They probably applied technology to some form of pain point that people had. So deep tech is when you're building some technology, in short.
Any deep tech startup from India,
Aether.
Yeah, Aether would be a great example. I think Aether has over 150 patents that it has through its R&D in Bangalore. So among India's big startups that most people have heard about, Aether is a pretty good example. But it's not just about that, right? If you look at the amount of government incentives that are coming up in deep tech recently, it's insane. Like just in this year's budget itself, so the government runs something called a fund of funds, where they release money for venture capital firms to put into startups. So the government acts as what is known as a limited partner, which is an organization that gives VC firms capital. So the government gave dedicated, I don't remember the exact number, but it's in hundreds of crores to venture capital firms just for investing in deep tech startups. Plus, if you look at most venture capital firms in the past couple of years, a lot of them have just launched deep tech funds. So clearly they are seeing something in the ecosystem.
And how one, as a student, it might be difficult to start in deep tech, right? You need to do some internship under.
Not really. In fact, I think that's one of the biggest strengths that you have as an engineering student who is building compared to, let's say, a management or a non-engineering student who is building. You are already studying tech in college, insofar as you can gain interest in what you are studying, or even if you don't have interest in your own branch, as long as you can identify your area of interest and dedicate time to the field that you find interest in, As an engineer, I think you are always at an advantage in terms of building in deep tech. So you just have to figure out what form of tech excites you.
Okay, so how to approach the alumni, the right people, if you have built something, or if you want to connect?
So one of the basic methods can be approaching people through LinkedIn. Being BITS Pilani having a wide alumni network, very vast alumni network, you can directly approach the aligned alumni from LinkedIn. Send him a message, send him connection request. I'm building this. I want some uh, guidance on this, and yeah, most of the alumni would accept the connection request and help you in any way. And other ways can be by cold mailing the alumni or any professional you want to gain expertise from, guidance from.
You?
Yes, pretty much spot on, right? The only thing you need to remember about reaching out to people is do it ASAP. Like, do not overthink. Just reach out. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most direct way, and plus, it's for professional communications. If you have a senior who has a direct connect with them, ask your senior for their numbers. Just text them over WhatsApp. Just reach out ASAP. Do not like overthink it. In most cases, there are people who are really, really willing to help you. They know they were in your position. They like help you out a lot.
And for example, it doesn't have to be a very glorified mail or message also. You just need to show them your passion, your passion to build and your dedication on what you're building on. So for example, I had one friend who was building a series, on the unicorn founders of BITS Pilani. And he had approached the founder of Big Basket via cold mail, and he had asked him for his college pics during his time, and he had got a reply within 30 minutes of that time. So
Insane.
a founder of Big Basket, a firm like Big Basket, a unicorn like Big Basket, he can reply to you in 30 minutes. Think about it. You just have to approach.
So yeah, it was great talking with Kavan and Amish. Great business insights. So we should wrap up. If you want to connect with anyone, I will attach the LinkedIn links of all in the description box. Bye bye.
Guys, do subscribe to MadMe Codes. I'm planning a lot more engaging content. Example, collaborative live stream, building projects together, journey my documentation, story time videos, learning tech in public, and reverse engineering startups.